Okay. Let's keep going. So let's talk now a little bit about like the bigger one. And not necessarily bigger one, but like the other one that I think like I personally know a bit more about. Game sense, right? Min maxing, whether it's one of my favorite thing is actually alt build, like alt build up. I know we talked about it before a little bit about like if you're gonna play to build up your Bob versus window, there's a little thing going on there as well. But like, what do you guys think about game sense, play styles, um, min maxing, whether it's certain CDs, cooldown optimization, alt build up, stuff like that?
Uh,
Here, I'll keep it simple. Let's sort of start with just like optimizing your alt usage and build like an alt building.
I think of ult as a cooldown.
Okay.
So it's just a cooldown with a longer cooldown.
Yeah.
And I think you could always improve your cooldown
Okay. Sounds good. How would you go about improving it though? Like what would you do if you were playing, I don't know, Tracer, I guess, to improve your pulse buildup or whatnot, or your usage for pulse?
How do I say this? Like, okay, so you always want to be doing more damage and taking less, yeah? So
Yeah.
um not wasting blinks and improving using cover.
Mhm.
It goes back to fundamentals where it's like you could always improve at every aspect and all of those add up and you could do more. Because if I'm wasting blinks, then I can't stay in the fight for as long.
Yeah.
And then that lowers my damage output. But if I'm improving that, then I'm getting more pulse bombs and I'm doing more damage, especially because of my aim.
Yeah. One thing I want to add too, is that I think certain ultimates are just inherently more valuable, and maybe Landon can give his opinion on this. But like, I think Rally is one of the most broken ultimates in the game, and how fast you build up Rally. I think, especially in Braving Comp, I'm really curious your opinion on this. But in Comp, if you like build Rally, and like to me, it's almost like a win condition to some existence, right? So if you're building that really fast, or even trance to some in some cases, depends on the enemy composition, right? I think that can just be like a huge thing. So sort of min maxing your alt buildup based off like enemy compositions and understanding what you can get away with more. But like, what are your thoughts on? What are your thoughts on that, Landon?
Yeah, when I was really new to the competitive scene, like
Mhm.
I didn't scrim that much, and I was playing Brig and like Trials and Contenders. My whole strategy was just to build a rally as fast as possible, and then just spam it. Um, and that luckily ended up being the correct playstyle. But like I just got lucky with that.
Yeah.
But using like just trying to build your ult and like have like a purpose for it, like instead of just being like I'm a rally and just like
Yeah.
walk the cart.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm gonna rally and walk on Sigma, with my Zen. Like
Yeah.
no it like on Bat for instance, if I just like window main like without a purpose, they're probably just gonna like use an off tank and back up.
Yep.
Like if I window with like the express intention to like do something with it, like I know what my plan is, I just immediately get more value. Like if I window like and I only shoot like the on in the back or whatever, like just have a purpose in mind. Don't just like just use it out without thinking about it.
Mhm.
I think a lot of people sometimes like it really depends on what you're in or like
Mhm.
what you're looking for, right? Because you might be looking for specific alts, like in a team environment, where you kind of need to hold the alt as long as you can because you need it for X alts the enemy might have. Because if you don't have that alt, for example, if you have a rally and they don't have a rally and you're attacking, there's a very good chance that you're going to take all the space away from them as you use it correctly, right?
Yeah.
But if you're in a fight and you're on defense and you use both of your support alts, and then they have like 4 alts for the next fight and you have nothing, you have to change the way you play by a lot. Like,
Yeah. Absolutely.
because you'll have to play like more spread, you'll have to play more angles, you'll have to go for more picks because you can't actually survive the enemy teams coming into you.
Yep. Well, so let's sort of move into like maybe play styles, and I think this is a huge one, right? And I think this is something that like a lot of people sort of, we talked about it a bit earlier with comp and sort of like looking and watching sort of how certain people do things, and how Tayo is a very like really flanky play style. You might have someone who's more pop offy, and does different things like KSP we mentioned, not KSP, Kai. Yes, my bad.
Kai.
But yeah. So, but what are some other like general examples, and like how would you guys say, besides mimicking someone, to what would be your step process to try and actually change your playstyle? Would you just literally just say like, I'm just gonna go, watch some pro player, see something new, and just try it in comp, or like what else would you try and do?
Well, I've always thought about this game in terms of playstyle. It's always, so for Genji, I used to play Genji. I would either be, okay, I would play in the front line and do this, or I would go to the back line and try to kill them, yeah. Same with Tracer. I'm either shooting tanks, taking duels, or going for backline for the
Yep.
most part. And it was always about finding and knowing what to do in each team fight, and it was always about mixing it up. Because if you do the same thing over and over, like eventually you're gonna hit a wall.
Yeah, enemy team will
just in
read
terms
you.
of playstyle.
And
Yeah.
the enemy team will read you. So.
Oh yeah, there's a few Contenders players that only do the same thing every single time. So when you see them, you're like, oh, I know what that guy's gonna do. You can do that with people in comp too, depending on how many games you play. You'll see
Yeah.
someone you know and then be like, oh, that guy's gonna flank a lot. Well, I know how to deal with that.
And playing against players, like you'll notice the things that they do, and you'll know what to expect from them. And
Yeah.
I got surprised in one of my tryouts this offseason because I didn't know how good the enemy was, and I couldn't like really play around it. Because for the NA players, I know what they're gonna do, and I know how much they're gonna do for the most part. So I could play around that, but then getting caught off guard is kind of unlucky.
Yeah.
Alright, I kind of steered off now.
No, you're good. You're totally good. What would you say is, how do you, or like Landon, you can also chip in too, but like how do you choose what is like your more defined play style? Like obviously, yes, you have like different ways of approaching the game. What as an individual, like you said, I think you put it really well. Pressure tanks, like hold lane control, take duels, or go backline. But how do you sort of choose one that you think fits you more? Like how do you know when it's better for you?
I really think it's based on the meta.
Okay.
Because if you're playing Tracer in Monkey Zarya on a brig, then you're not gonna be going for backline really. It seems like it's a mistake unless you're engaging.
Like
And
hardcore
sometimes,
engaging.
yeah. Sometimes you can go for backline if you have like nano or something, or
Yes.
if you have a pulse bomb and they use bubble, then you can go for backline. But in that meta, you kind of want to just brawl and shoot tanks and
Build
DPS.
ults and also build ults, but
Yeah,
shooting tanks
yeah,
inherently
get a
builds
pulse.
ults. Yeah.
You can get a pulse and then go for backline after you shoot the tanks, but you're still shooting tanks mostly for the playstyle. But for something else, it's like in ball tracer sig, you could be shooting the ball a lot and wouldn't be running the tracer, and you could also go backline a lot since they're a lot squishier. And usually it goes like the fight goes in steps. So for me, I shoot out tanks and DPS first, and then I can try to go backline if I see the opportunity, and if I can kill the front line, then I'll do that. It just depends on the situation, and it's always about recognizing what's good in the meta.
Yeah.
So when you talk about that stuff, do you mean like, so you're talking about playstyle depends on the meta, right? But if we were going to talk about playstyle in general, you would try to figure out the things that you normally like to do, the muscle memory that you do, and how to fit it into this new role for the team comps, right?
For the team comp?
Yeah, like for example, if you're playing a ball comp into a Orisa comp, you obviously have to play differently, right?
Yeah.
But your playstyle would still be very similar.
Maybe. Cause okay, so that gets me thinking of like, for Ashen Double Shield in the mirror, you can go for hard off angles and get a lot of value that way. But if you're playing Double Shield into Ball Tracer, then you're gonna have to be shooting at the Tracer and Ball so that they don't engage and kill your backline.
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess playstyle does change, depending on matchup too.
I would say that main tank players have to change a lot when they're playing ball, because for example, if you play into
different backlines,
like let's say
spam.
a double shield team, but they're playing Mercy and Bat. Well, that's a lot easier to play into than like a Kree Sombra Brig, right? That comp you have to play extremely slow into and let your DPS deal more stuff. So I think for playstyles, your DPS can obviously change, like you're saying, but I don't think it changes as much as like a main tank player has to change.
Yeah, and I'll also say there's different types of changes too, right? Like you could have CC lock, but you could also have like imagine now you have like a Mercy Echo, right? Don't think you mentioned that, but like you get what I'm saying. A Mercy Echo, because of the range, is very different, and because the angle Echo can take with like damage boost beam is just insanely scary. So like that also will like actually change
Yeah.
too.
So how I do it in like when I'm coaching people is I talk about it in roles. Like if we're playing this comp, this is kind of how your role works. If you don't play like this in the comp, why are you playing those heroes? For example, since you mentioned Echo Mercy, if you're playing Echo Mercy, you have a Echo with a pocket. She should play aggressive and take angles. If you're playing passively, why are you playing Echo with a pocket? That doesn't make any sense. You should probably not do that. For example, if you're playing into if you have the Echo Mercy and you're playing into someone that's playing a more brawly style comp with like a Brig, a BAP, and let's say a Genji, right? That's a more brawly style of a double shield. If you sit there and just poke them and you let them walk into you and brawl you, well, their comp's going to win. That's the whole point of their comp. Your comp's not meant to brawl. It's meant to poke and take angles. So you should be doing that.
And like one thing
Yeah.
you need. Oh, go ahead.
To give another example, like where I position his BAP changes like dramatically off what heroes the enemy team picks.
Yes,
You
that's
know?
a great example.
Like
actually,
if I'm playing into double shield, like a double shield mirror, there's a lot of options I can play. Like the game is pretty creative. They start picking like, for instance, like into ball.
yes.
You like I like stand on top of my team. Versus comps like Winston. Like if I stand on my team, we're just gonna get like 6-man cleaved. But I can't play in the back of the map like a double shield mirror. So like you gotta play like a middle ground. Like it's like I'm still playing BAP with the same team comp. But like whatever the enemy team picks, like I gotta change. I'll be playing the game on hard mode.
Mm-hmm.
There's also like obviously different target prioritization as well as heal prioritization that'll always be changed too, at least with supports.
Yeah,
Obviously.
like
and stuff like that.
sometimes like in a ball comp, I'm just perma shooting ball, so you can never like get
Yup.
close to me. Into Winston, if I shoot the Winston, they just have nano.
Yeah. But then you gotta know how to deal with nano.
So like now I'm
it's
so like
even
now I'm
different.
hard shooting tracer or like I'm marking DPS as BAP. Like it really changes.
Yeah, I mean it even changes a whole lot depending on what the enemy has. Like if you're playing Zid Brig and you're playing to a mirror match, you have to watch out for ball and tracer, obviously, right? But let's say they change it. Now they have a Pharah. Playing what you're doing is like the positions you take completely different into a Pharah and an Echo than it would be into like a Sombra and a Tracer.
Yes. Yes. That's probably one of the big ones, honestly. 'Cause I could probably say I think pharmacy comps, like ball pharmacy comps, is like probably one of the compositions that I think throw off so many teams or just so many players.
It's so like weird. It's just weird.
Yeah, I mean like I'm just watching Yazin play Pharah into people, you can see how different people have to play and react into it. It's the same as if you're playing versus a Daynut on Doomfist. Doomfist one trick, or someone who's really, really good at the hero. Someone that's not even close to how good a Doomfist one trick is cannot show off how
like
absolutely
it's crazy
that character can carry.
Yeah, like as a BAP, if I'm playing into a good Doom, I have to like search for ceilings to play under, which is just like the most absurd playstyle adaptation you have to make.
Yeah, like you have to play.
Like if you don't, you're just gonna get uppercut and die.
Yeah,
like,
or you have to be able to constantly have your jump ready, so that way you can dodge him while also watching your Reinhardt the whole time to make sure he doesn't die, while also making sure, do I need a drone? Does he need drone? Playing versus to a good Doomfist makes it so difficult.
Yeah, that was something like I'm grateful I get to scrim Europe for a month, because boy do they love Doom over there, and you can learn like a lot. Like I learned a lot about playing in the Doom from just like scrimming there for a month.
Yeah,
because like only way to learn it is like to just figure stuff out. What works, what doesn't work.
Right. So since I don't think we actually said exactly. So the reason why we're talking a whole bunch about this for like plateauing stuff is that when you play into certain comps or you're playing a specific kind of comp, what you do changes. And if you're not thinking about that, or actually know what your role is and what you need to do in the comp, you're going to have less value than if you did know what you were doing, or like what you can get your most value out of.
To tie it back to plateauing, it's like sometimes it just feels hard, and it probably feels hard because you're not doing the right thing.
Yes.
So the game should feel a lot easier
Yes.
when you start
Dude,
doing the right thing.
that said so well. That said
Yeah, like we
so
had this
well.
issue, like on Solaris, we'd scrim UA a lot. And I would just feed them nano for like a month straight, and then I got coached, and they were like, "Yeah, you probably shouldn't shoot the monkey." And then like I was like, "Oh, okay," and I had to rethink my whole like perspective, because
Yeah.
when like I wasn't doing the correct thing. So like even if it's not like direct like over dying, it's like rather than shoot Winston, you can shoot Tracer, or there's like other ways to put the game, even in the same comp.
Yeah, I mean,
Like there's always stuff to learn.
yeah, there's always stuff. Like an easy one that a lot of people in contenders think is that our teams are way better at 6-man than most contenders teams are, right?
Yep.
Yeah, they're way better at the rotations. They're way better at just
Yeah.
being on the same page and where they need to move. So we scrimmed Shock a few times, and we like to play our comp on defense for Hana is Ball, Echo, Mercy's in with a Diva, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And they
So a
always
lot of
would play
spam.
6-man into it. So the first 2 times we played, Shock just completely destroyed us because that makes sense, right? They should be able to do
Yeah.
that.
Just split dives or whatnot.
Yeah,
but
just do split dives or be able to just, have a good rotation and be able to get on top of us because our comp shouldn't be that good into it. So the next time we did it, I gave them a very specific thing you're supposed to do. We had a different position, and our Diva played completely differently. So what we ended up doing was they're 6-man. They always want to dive into you or they want to hold point. If we have an Echo, a Mercy, and a Zen, they can't hold point. We win slow game. So they have to go fast or we win.
Mhm.
So we know they have to kill the Zen to do that. So what do? You get the Diva, you sit her directly on top of the Zen and body block them like you're a bouncer, You don't let anybody get on that man. And if you play your position right, and your Diva actually blocks them out from being able to gun you, like, for example, the Winston jumps in, so you shift to boop them away. And then your Ball also comes in to slam them on their rotation at the same time, and then you're actually disrupting the dive and making them go forward. You have opportunities to play the game and actually kill them instead of just dying.
I honestly think that's one of like a lot of divas. Actually, I've had to talk to a lot of divas about actually understanding how to position into 6-man because they're really passive. Like they don't understand how to actually like protect someone and peel for backline. Well, in this case, just Zen, while actually putting frontal pressure.
I've seen so many times where a Winston has primal or a nano or something like that to help them continue to dive in, and they just dive straight on the Zen and kill them. And I'm like, the Diva's right there. You literally just need to shift and boop him, and then you're good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yup, there's always stuff to learn.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can shoot different people, you can heal different people, you can use your cooldowns to different people, like.
And I'll put that right into what Dub said, right? Like if it feels good, right, you're probably doing probably something decent, right? If it feels bad, probably not something good, because that's like a very easy way to like literally determine, what's good or not. Because in general, a game should feel nice.
There's small thing like the higher and higher you get, or the better and better someone is at a hero, the more you have to change your own hero or playstyle to make sure that you're doing your things correctly. Because even if you think that something doesn't work, there could be some way of playing or something you would have to do that just makes everything 10 times easier.
Yeah, but that's also kind of a trap. Like just because it feels good doesn't mean that you don't have something to work on.
Yes, that is true. That's
like one thing is if you play against a really good Zen, if you play in certain ways, like you'll get punished. But if you're not playing against the best Zen in the world, then you just won't get punished for it. And it's still a mistake.
Yeah.
It's just not being punished.
It's also the same thing is there's like a limit, right? Like certain people you'll get away with stuff, certain people you won't. So like if you play versus Aunts, right, for someone else, this is gonna be a very different thing. Like I remember scoring Shock in the olden days, and it was like KR, and we had to literally track his like grapple because the dude would just literally grapple headshot, grapple headshot, grapple headshot, and we changed it versus another Widow, right? We wouldn't normally have to do that. So I think that goes into also just like understanding sort of who your opponent is and also like maybe how they play a little bit.
Yeah. Certain players I just shoot at because they don't know how to play when they get shot at.
I mean, I can tell you for back in Atlantic Showdown, this is like 2 years ago when I was on Angry Titans. I noticed there was one really bad habit that Gator had, and is that if you shot his shield, he would slow down a lot. So our entire playstyle was literally just shoot his shield and break it, and we won. Literally only doing that the whole time, and they never fixed it.
Yeah. Man, I have stuff I want to say, but I'm not going to because I think that'd be bad about abusing people's play styles and stuff. But yeah, no, I think that's something definitely you can really abuse because I mean I've done countless scouting reports and it's like what I was good at, right?
Of course.
So
I mean, it doesn't mean that they're necessarily doing something incorrect.
no,
Maybe
it's just that you're abusing it because they're not changing their
Yeah.
play style, right? Like they're just doing the same thing
exactly.
over
It's
and
just
over
that
again.
They're not being adaptive. They're
Yeah.
just doing the same thing, and it's making it so that it's easy to play into.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like they get so much value, but then like once somebody actually shoots at them, it's like it drops a lot.
Right.
And like the
And
best. Oh, go ahead.
I can give you an easy example from EU. I think Lethal's a really good player, right?
Yeah,
But
he's
he
pretty
has he is a very funny playstyle. Very funny playstyle. He flanks and does things that make no sense all the time. But he doesn't do them stupidly. Some of them, yeah, but he does a lot of plays that you just wouldn't expect that just give you free kills. Now, if you played into him, you'll expect those and you'll play completely differently and they won't happen as much, but you still have to look out for them because if you don't, he's going to do it and he's going to win the game off of it. But you have to be able to adapt yourself to be able to deal with that.
Yeah. And I think
It's
like
also something. Oh, sorry.
no, go. You're good. You're good. Go for it.
It's like one thing that Faustus told me a long time ago is just scouting. Like for example on Lijiang, on Garden I think. Like as Tracer I go top right and then I just clear that top right area. Like just in case somebody's hiding there. And I always do it. Just cause like if somebody is hiding there then they can easily be punished. And like you can always do the right thing. And missing something like somebody's in your backline, that's a pretty big mistake.
Oh yeah, that's a big thing for Dooms too. If you don't scout high grounds and you just walk in and he comes in and kills your BAP, well, it's literally just because you didn't go look for him.
Yeah, I could talk a lot about scouting and May and do you guys remember the Doom Reaper meta? The double shield. I think it was double shield. Pack lines would just be so sad, man. That show was crazy.
Oh, man, that was something. That meta was something.
That was an open division, so
Literally every single Doomfist was completely different in how they played.
Yes. Oh man. And like,
Yeah,
no, go ahead, Landon.
I never got to experience that, unfortunately. I think I was doing like IRL, like robotics. It's just unfortunate. There's things you miss out on. Like there's play styles that like every now like the newer you are as a player, like the more you have to play catch up. Because like I mean like we were talking about Pharah comps earlier. Like if you've never played into a Pharah, like there's certain things that you just have to learn. Like you have to learn new styles.
Oh, absolutely.
If you're unwilling to like like you're just gonna get farmed.
And I think it's similar to if you're going to play into a team and you just expect them to play like all these one comps, but then they come out with something completely different that they actually play well, but you've never experienced it or have any idea how to play it. You're gonna play a lot worse than if you had a little bit of scrim time versus it, right?
Yeah, like some of the newer flex supports, like they're mostly bad players, and I think that's one of the reasons that like UV was so far ahead of everybody else is just because like he's been playing the game for so long, and he played Zen and Ana for a long time. Those were his main heroes, and he picked up BAPT afterward, and experience does bring a lot.
Yeah, and I think I'm gonna tie this in too because we were talking a lot about adapting to, right? And I'll just like remind, it's one game I'll probably never forget. Is TI versus Envy, like in the OG days, really a while ago, and a lot of people did not think we were gonna win, but like we scouted really hard. We had a really good understanding of the play style they had, how to counter it, and that match was insane because literally we would counter them, and then they would change their play style, and then we'd have to counter them back, and it was really interesting because as a player, you're again constantly having to think, and again, I think it comes with experience, as you said, and a lot of time. But when you realize you're not getting value in anything anymore, you have to think about another way of doing it. And I think players who can really do that dynamically, that's like an insane skill, and sort of also then communicate it to their team in a way where then the team then understands how to make that drastic shift to get value. I think that's a very, very, very important feature.
A lot of this stuff that you can also put into ranked as well, and in
Oh,
various
100%.
not huge things, right? Where you just look at everybody, but there's things you can notice from players that they or messing things up or not playing the right hero or one trick, so you can exploit that, or many different ways to think about how people do stuff and how to exploit it, and not autopilots to actually give you a win.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always think it's always about like doing the right thing yourself, and then if you see a mistake, then you punish it.
Oh
But
yeah, I agree with that.
yeah, I don't think newer players especially shouldn't be like looking to punish mistakes if
No,
they're
that's
doing the
that's
right
No,
more
thing.
of
no,
an
yeah,
advanced thing that you should
definitely.
like.
That's
That's
a good
more when
point.
you get closer to being better. That's a good point to put up.
Yes, I think that is. All right, let's see. Any other topics we sort of want to talk about with like play styles, game sense? Trying to think of any other topics you guys got?
I just want to say that like I do this a lot, and I fall into the trap of just like thinking playing more is getting more results, and I don't think that's true. But I fell into the trap for a long time, and you always have to be working on something. Doesn't matter if you think that you're solid enough. Like always be working on something, and if you're not, then you're just playing to play,
Yeah,
enforcing
I
your
mean,
bad habits.
something that helps a lot of players I've talked to, like all the time, is to write down a couple goals you want to fix. It can be bad habits that you've noticed that you do. It can be you don't use this cooldown enough, or let's say you hold on to this ult too much. Anything super small, like a small goal, write it down. If you die, or after it's like halfway through the map, or whenever you really want to, read the list, make sure you're doing it, and continue on trying to only do that. If you keep trying to do big goals over and over again, like
Yeah.
my aim sucks, I want to fix my aim, and that's your only goal, that's
That's
not a
not
great
gonna work.
goal to achieve. That's going to take a lot of time. You should
Yeah.
try to fix stuff that's really small. And also not give yourself like 8 million things to look over.
Yeah.
If you have a list and it's 10 things, and you're like, okay, I fixed that, and you go to the next one, you didn't actually fix that first part. That's not how that works. You need to actually make sure that you don't do that anymore at all. You need to revisit that stuff and make sure that you're not doing it anymore.
Yeah. And to that point, I think one of my favorite things is you've got your big goal. You're like they may be like, your aim. Then from there, how are you gonna like, small goals to, fix your aim.
Yeah,
And then on top of that, what I like doing, or I've told people, then they've said it's good, is literally post-it notes on like along your monitor. Don't like spam your monitor with all of them because that just gets overwhelming. But just like small ones, right? And like just put them like maybe like 5, 6, and that way it's very easy to see and accessible. But small thing from me. Anything else, guys? If not, we can just go into Q&A.
You got something?
There was a bigger, more advanced thing as well with the watching players do things. It's
Yes.
like, if you play in ranked or play in a team, a lot of people mess this up where they'll see their teammate doing something, and they'll just watch them, and then they'll go die, and you'll be sitting there not doing anything while they're dying. And a lot of times you can exploit that by actually doing something while they're dying. For example, if you're playing with a Rhine player, and they just consistently feed, well, that's going to keep happening. But what can you do when they're feeding? Maybe you'll kill one of the guys that's not looking at you because they're trying to kill the feeding Reinhardt. Or, for example, since we did this a lot in EU, if you're playing Ryan v Ryan and Ryan gets walled and everybody sits behind the May wall, you lose. Why are you sitting behind the May wall? You should be doing something. Save your Reinhardt. Why are you watching him die? That makes no sense.
Or look for your own play.
Yeah, or look for another play that you can do somewhere.
I think, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying, it doesn't make any sense to watch someone feed or do something and stand there and do nothing. Like, you don't take any space, you don't try to make your own play, you don't try to, get a free kill or any of that stuff. That does not make sense.
I think my favorite one is like, a Kree's flanking and hard flanking, hiding somewhere, or it's a Reaper hard flanking somewhere, and the enemy team sees the Kree, and the enemy team pushes the Kree, and your team, just doesn't do anything. Like your Kree's getting bum rushed, and you're just watching your Kree getting bum rushed, and like
Yeah.
you could be doing something when that happens, right? Like don't just stand there and watch your Kree just die. Have 6 people on him.
Yeah, I've seen before where a Kree goes and hides behind. He's really not that far away. High noons, he dies, and then the team's like, "What's that Kree doing? He's an idiot." And I'm like,
well, you're also an
you're
idiot.
just watching him.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you guys have any interesting like mid-fight stuff like that, or like because someone did something like this, you've noticed some other extra value?
Huh. I never look at my teammates. I just focus on myself.
Yeah, that's also fair.
Fair.
But
I know
sometimes,
I've talked to you before in a team environment, though. You do have to watch your teammates, though. It's very
yeah,
important in a team environment to do that.
yeah. Cause like sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm focusing on myself, and then I'm carrying the fucking game, but then I don't notice what's going wrong with my teammates. So like, even though I'm doing a lot, like my team's losing. So what's the point?
I've seen that happen with a lot of players actually, where they say like, "Hey, I'm playing super well in this hero," but their team wants them to swap because even though they're doing well, it's not what you need at the time because everybody else isn't getting anything.
Yep. All right.
Like,
Oh god.
I was playing soldier, and my whole team wanted a Kree, and intuitively, like, it just felt like I could do more on soldier, and I couldn't explain why. And then we had a coach come in, and they said that like, okay, so you do this, so you shoot the ball, and then you force out DPS, and that's something that I naturally did on soldier. So which is why like it felt like intuitively like it was better, even though it
Oh,
seemed really stupid.
that's a really good thing to put up. I've seen a lot of times for people in general or just teams where you can play a hero the exact same way as another hero,
Yep.
but when you play them because they're a different hero and you think of them a certain way, you just don't do that.
Yeah.
For example, like if you're playing a Kree and a Mei in a Rhine comp, or you're playing a Brawly style
Reaper.
of double shield,
Okay.
you can still play really aggressive and go in, and you can still poke, right? But let's change that up. Let's just say instead of a Kree, you have a Reaper. If you have a Reaper,
Yeah, there we
you're
go.
definitely going in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can still do that with Kree.
Yep.
But it's different. The
Yes.
heroes are different.
Yes. That's a really good point.